Hey, Jajuan, Mark Kester here from the Players NIL. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me, Mark. It's exciting to be here. When you connected with me, I said, "Hey, this is something we have to do," and I'm glad we're able to do it.
Well, I'm impressed with our conversation last week, and I'm more impressed with your life, your story, your successes and your failures, right? Because that's the way the
Yes.
real world works. Not everything's a straight line. Sometimes you have a little crooked arrow in there, But what we're going to do here at the Players NIL is try and give people an experience around the education of being an athlete, what it's like, what the journey's like, what you've learned. And so I'd like to share with my audience today some of your stories and your current project, which is called M.A.D.E.to.enhance.com. We want to plug that, and we want people to go and check out that. So I have 3 questions for you. The first question is really simple. Tell me about your relationship with sports. How did it start? When did it start? Tell me some of the stories about your journey.
Well, I honestly believe it started before I was even thought of. Honestly, growing up, I learned more about my grandfather, my grandmother. My grandfather was very athletic. He was born in the 30s, but during that time, you had to farm, and you're not really in school. You had to work. But you talking about stories of him being a great runner, a great swimmer, strong as an ox. It's stories about him being plowing the field, and he outworked the mule as a human. So it's just great stories. And then my grandmother's side, they very quick and athletic. They was known to be great wrestlers, and they little country town they're from. And then you go to my mother and father, they both were track stars, coming out of high school. It just didn't have the push, in circumstances growing up, in the 80s, during that time, no one really supported going to college. Just after high school, you go straight to work, or for my dad instance, working full-time job in 11th grade to provide. So I feel like it started there. And then I heard stories of me at 18 years old. I had to throw the football every night. No matter what time my dad got home from work, we had to throw the football. And particularly football was Florida State, because he's a big Charlie Ward fan. So I feel like sports was just in me, just to be athletic. And I was just fortunate enough to use that, what I was given, God given, and work my craft to get to the highest levels of football, which was the NFL.
That's awesome. So tell me about the first time you realized maybe I could do this. How old were you?
I would say, honestly, I would say maybe like 23, 24. Honestly.
Wow. Okay. Late in life.
Yes. And I tell people all the time, I am a late bloomer. Like, I was still growing at the age of 24, literally. A lot of things, I don't know how, but I'm a late bloomer in a lot of things. Not saying I wasn't good at something, but just I hit that, that extra gear later in life, But yeah, later on, because I honestly was like, well, if I could do this, everyone else could do it. And that's how I was growing up. I never was the type of guy to be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely this, brash and all that other stuff. But as time went on, I started realizing like, hey, these guys really can't do what I'm doing. I'm doing it effortlessly. I'm like, wow, I really have something going. So I would say later on in life, I really realized.
And when you were young, what sports did you play?
Oh man, I did everything. I did basketball. Well, let's start off with this. I started with football, and then with the throwing, then I started asking my dad, because throughout the house we'll do lunges. I didn't know why we was doing lunges at the time, but it was scripting up my legs for what? Running. So I would do lunges, and then I started asking my dad. I was ask stories about him, and he'll take me to the track. So me, my dad, and my mom would go to the track, myself volunteering, and it just let me run, sprint straightaways, walk the curves. And then my dad said, hey, you want to try some hills? So I started running hills. So I started leading to the track. And then baseball came just out of the blue. At that time, I think I was between 7 to 10. I really did baseball. I tell people I had the earliest career. I retired at 10. I was so good I retired.
Couldn't hit the curve, right?
Couldn't hit the curve. So, well, baseball was going good. I mean, kid you not, at 10 years old, I was in the batting cages knocking 80 out, like 80 miles per hour, like it's nothing. But however, the environment I grew up in, my friends, they wasn't gravitating to baseball. So as a kid, my friends not doing okay. They're doing basketball. So I transitioned to basketball, and I started teaching myself how to shoot by watching a movie called Above the Rim. I taught myself how to shoot. I played basketball. I could jump high. I was dunking, what, eighth grade at 5'7". I mean, dunking it. So I knew I had something special, and I just went from there. So it went to basketball, to football, track, then eventually just football, track, then just football. Yeah.
So it sounds like your parents were a great influence, and congratulations to them. They've raised a fine young man.
Thank you.
Was there a coach or a mentor during this period of time? And if there was, what were some of the lessons that you learned about that?
Well, I had many coaches going through every level. I tell you that. But I'll always say my dad. My dad was always there. From day one until he passed. He always there. If it's at the gates of the field, never interrupting the coaches at all. But when we come home, say, hey, you can do this. How you feel about today? If I came home on my high horse, he'll let me know, like, hey, you could have did better. He like, be your worst critic. Love what you do, but also be your worst critic. So he knew how to balance me out. And I always would say my dad, because not only inside the arenas, the fields, the gates, however you want to call it, my dad was my life coach as well. So I'll always say my dad, great father figure, and a person I always aim to be, especially when I have children.
Well, that's awesome and a great tribute to him. And I'm sure that he's watching somehow, and congratulations. So you have this unbelievable athletic genetic gift. You figure out how to take advantage of it, and it gets you to the NFL. So you've left the dream of every kid that plays sports down in the neighborhood, field or on the street. But bring us to today in the real world and tell me what you're working on. Tell me about M.A.D.E and your vision for it and what gets you so excited about it.
Oh man, just you here talking about brought me chills. That's why I really chill right here. It means a lot because it's about life, and it taught me life lessons as I started this company. It started after I got cut from the NFL. Now I'm gonna go back. So my dad was a bodybuilder, top 10 in the world. I mean, I won Mr. Florida, still hold the records for that, and XYZ. And he was teaching me fitness and health then, right? So as life was going on, he was my coach until about age 13. You go to high school, you got your weightlifting, etc. You learn from there. So I took bits and pieces to create a business. Now, I didn't know what the business is going to be until I was released from Buffalo, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. How can I keep myself going? How can I turn this this situation into something special? Either I'm gonna make it a stepping stone or a pity party. And I decided right then I'm gonna make this a stepping stone. So I'm driving by the hospital. I remember like it's yesterday, and I just turned down my radio at the stoplight, and I said, you know what? Why am I moping? Someone is being born, and someone has transcended to the next life. And I said, you know what? For here on out, I'm going to make adjustments, delete excuses throughout life, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. And as soon as I said that, it hit me. And I didn't know. I mean, I'm just sitting in the car. I said, make adjustments, delete excuses. And that's when it took off. And the company is teaching others through health, wellness, fitness, how to persevere through life, how to get through it. Do not find excuses throughout life. Just keep pressing forward. And it's been helping me. And it ties back to, like I say, my grandmother, my grandfather, because I stayed connected with my roots. And, throughout their lifetime, they kept pressing forward. You're talking about my grandfather will be 87 this month, and he still works in the field, planting greens, plowing the field. My mother-in-law, she's going to be 97 this year, and she's still climbing ladders and doing XYZ. You would think she's just 60 years old. So it just tells me, like, you make adjustments, delete excuses throughout life, and keep pressing forward. And that's what I'm using from my trials and tribulations to teach others to keep moving forward, make adjustments, and everything work itself out.
Well, that's awesome. And it's a great story. And I can feel your passion. I can see it in your face. Your eyes get big, and it's awesome. And MADE2Enhance.com is the website for those that want to go check it out and connect. And it's awesome. And look, life is difficult and it's a challenge, but you certainly have made the most of your opportunity. And that's really what the Players NIL is about, is using athletics to better your life, to better the lives of the people around you. And you're a great example, a shining star in the world of athletics, and the reason that people should, get involved and support their community, the same reasons that you're doing it. So with that said, my third question, my last question is, this name, image, and likeness started last year, which allows college athletes and high school athletes in some states to profit from their name, image, and likeness. In other words, to be able to make money away from their athletic scholarship and not jeopardize their athletic scholarship. And it's a whole new world, and it brings all kinds of opportunities, but it brings all kinds of pressure.
Right.
Young kids with money that they never thought they would have, little guidance, little structure to what's going on. And so because of your journey, because of your experience, you're someone that kids can look up to. And I'd just like to hear, what advice would you give to young athletes today about life, about chasing their dream, about managing name, image, and likeness, and making their lives better through that experience?
You want to stay true to yourself, and most stuff you don't feel obligated to do something that you feel deep down in your gut you don't want to do. We all have that gut feeling when something is wrong. We have that gut feeling something right. So you always want to trust that, and make sure you surrounding yourself around great people. My dad always told me a flower cannot grow with weeds around it. So therefore, make sure your garden is weeds around it, your soil is good, which means you're surrounded around the right people, you're doing the right things, you're treating everybody with respect. It goes a long way. They think, well, if I'm young, it'll clear up when I get older and XYZ. But no, it starts now. It's nothing wrong with just doing the right things. I tell younger guys all the time, and younger girls, that when you do the right things will come to you. It may not come to you tomorrow or 2 weeks down the road, but eventually it will come because someone's always watching. And that's the key to life. Someone's always watching. That door that you want open may become open because what you did 2 or 3 years down the road, because you was doing the right thing, treating people with kindness. Even if someone or a situation brings turmoil and they try to pull you down, just be the bigger person, smile through it and get through it. And just know that, like I always say, great things will come to those who are doing right.
Great advice. And it comes from an authentic place. And, you didn't have to read a script. You know it, you live it, you breathe it. You're a shining example of it. I had a coach a long time ago tell me, if you take care of the little things, the big things take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
And it's the same way. And, in today's world of social media, and the eye's always there, and, there are probably things that people got away with 25, 30, 40 years ago that you can't get away with, which is a good thing, maybe, and a bad thing. But someone's always watching. Great advice. And yeah, I think you're right on. And Jajuan, I just want to, say thank you for this short conversation and for your advice. And, it's a great honor for me to have you on the Players NIL podcast. And before we say goodbye, any parting words or any last minute messages to the audience?
Just continue whatever you're doing. Make sure you do it with confidence. If it's decision making, make sure you're doing that with confidence. Erase any doubt. And just main thing, just keep pressing forward in whatever you're doing in life. I know at times for instance, for those that may get this big contract or a big endorsement by someone or get more attention, and this other person say, "Hey, I deserve this." Don't look at it with that. Just stay in the moment. Keep doing what you're doing. Put your blinders on. Stay focused. Stay in tune with that light at the end of the tunnel, and your time will come. Your time will come. So just stay patient and continue to move forward.
Well, Jajuan, Harley, you are a shining star. You're a beacon of energy and enthusiasm. We love that. We want people to go to MADE2enhance.com. We want it to be a great, successful venture, and we want you to be able to touch many lives. And I thank you for being on the podcast today.
And I was going to say also, sir, if you don't mind, also my personal website, if anyone want to know more about me personally, is jajuanharley.com. You'll find my whole resume, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis through that website, and MADE2enhance.com. is more of my company. So you'll see what I'm doing in the health world and everything. Yeah.
Well, perfect. We want people to go there and take a look. So thanks again and have a great day.
All right. Thank you. You too.